astronomy class opportunities for the high school, as well as summer STEM programs for any high school student throughout the Thompson School District. And we don't limit it to TSD, it's just that's where it's advertised. So if you have high school students who would be interested in working with us through the summer, you can always contact us through starkids.org. There's an info link on the page. You can ask about our programs. We're completely dependent on donations. So if you like what we do and you're financially able, we have a donation cash box in the back. You can use PayPal, there's this QR code, or just go to our website and link on a donation link. We appreciate anything and everything, but nothing is ever required. All of our programs are absolutely free except for voluntary donations. Tonight's program is one I'm particularly interested in hearing. John Ensworth will be presenting on a very challenging
Get a piece and something to write with. For everybody.
Years in the future, are we going to deal with hazards associated with nuclear waste? Now, John has a strong background in the sciences. He was education program officer for NASA.
Grab a piece of paper and a pencil.
Yeah, be sure to get pieces of paper there. Gonna be a test. So John was education program officer for NASA for a good many years. Currently, folks in Loveland are very, very fortunate to have him as a middle school and high school teacher. So you may want to talk a little bit more about that with you separately. John has been volunteer here at the observatory literally forever.
Yeah, 14.
Early days,
14 years.
Since the early days of the observatory. Yeah, he is a board member, but more than that, he's one of our more popular presenters. So now that I've really set him up
Oh, yeah.
with pressure, John Ensworth.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Yeah, and I also am a meteorologist, and I have a weekly weather show at Longmont Public Media. So if you have Comcast, I'm on channel 88 and 888 with a weekly weather discussion. And so you can catch that on YouTube too if you really want. It's just, I don't get any money for that. It's just fun. All right, so what we're going to talk about tonight is you go tell somebody that you talked about nuclear semiotics, and they go, wow, you're really smart. That's incredible. Semiotics is just how we communicate and communicate non-verbally. That's it. That's a big fancy word for that. And we're going to start out really briefly. We're going to keep the science very light so everybody can understand and enjoy it. We're going to talk about what nuclear power is, what nuclear waste is, really briefly. Then we're going to get into semiotics, and you actually have semiotics around you all the time. If you open up your phone, oh, look at that. I got semiotic boxes all over my screen. Yeah, it's the picture that we have on apps. And go, oh, that's my podcast thing. There's no word there. You can read underneath it, but it's not necessary. You eventually learn what those little icons mean. So we'll talk about semiotics in your day-to-day life, and then we'll put the two together, and we're going to say, what do we do with, and this is a technical term, the spicy nuclear waste that's going to last tens of thousands of years, and some future version of civilization hops up to that location, digs down, and starts drinking groundwater. Ew. So how do you tell them, this is not a good idea? So, all right, so nuclear fission is where you throw a neutron into some uranium-235, you add that neutron in, and now it is unstable. It doesn't want to remain uranium-236, and at some point, they're gonna break apart, in this case, to krypton and barium, I think it is, yeah. And you get some other particles out, and you get a tremendous amount of energy. You've seen nuclear explosions in film. If you went and watched Oppenheimer, you got a good discussion of that too. Now that's different than fusion, and this is where you put the light stuff together a proton and a neutron and deuterium, 2 neutrons and a proton and tritium, and you combine them to make helium. You do get a little radiation out of this, and eventually the equipment that your reactor starts becoming radioactive, but it's not the same nasty stuff or spicy stuff that you get from the uranium side of the reaction. So a nuclear reactor is just something that keeps this reaction going in a controlled way, and you can get electricity out. Nuclear reactor can produce the energy equivalent to 10 million times the energy of combusting an atom of carbon from coal. So yeah, it is really efficient. One little pellet that big can run a chunk of a city for weeks or months. So it's a very efficient way. I am not anti-nuclear. I think nuclear energy is a good way to go, but still there are things that we have to consider long-term and short-term with the waste. Nuclear reactor works just like every other energy generating system. You somehow make steam, drives a generator, you get electricity out of that, you cool that down, you put the water back in. Instead of coal, natural gas, or something like that, the thing that's making the heat is happening here in this closed system. You have uranium rods, and they're already naturally giving off these neutrons. So you put them just in the right configuration, and you put them right geometry, close enough together that the neutrons can keep the reaction going. You can put in these little rods up here to block the neutrons. You can slow down or even basically turn off the reactor if you need to. And if things don't get too hot, then this is great. Now they have really safe designs we've not been able to build yet because there's tons and tons of regulation. Grab a piece of paper and a pencil over there. And so that's the basics. That's our nuclear reactor. I'm going to skip fusion. So basically nuclear energy is just using these, and for this talk, big uranium atoms to break them apart. Yes?
What is the heat that's released? How hot does that get?
It gets as hot as it can take. I think you're probably up to thousands, maybe 10,000 degrees. Yeah. It's whatever your reactor containment vessel can take. So, yep. And our biggest accidents, like about 3 Mile Island, was local, Chernobyl, Fukushima, Daiichi. Those are caused by people. I think in the first 2 cases, they were actually doing an experiment, taking backup power offline, and things got out of control, or a valve was not being read properly, and they were doing the wrong thing. With the Japanese one, it was a big earthquake, but it was okay. Everything was fine until the tsunami flooded the generators that kept the backup power going. The grid was gone because of the earthquake, and they had the generators in the basement, which is probably under sea level, not a good idea. We learn from those things, and we also have reactors that now in design, that if something starts going wrong, they shut themselves off. It's a naturally, yes, something? Oh, okay. All right, so that's enough nuclear energy. We'll get back to the waste in a minute. Let's look at reading pictures, signs, symbols, and visual codes. All right, so from just looking at any optical illusion, we can interpret things weirdly. Our brain does strange things with pictures. Those are, those are straight lines up and down and horizontally. If you kind of really stare, you can tell that's true. If I go, oh, it's not playing. It did before. Okay, there we go. So those are actually moving along exactly side by side, but your brain is, there it is. Your brain is seeing the leaping as it touches light and dark. So when you want to communicate in pictures, you've got to think about how the human brain works. So we're going to play with that. People who work with semiotics say you can basically break things into three. You got some things that are symbolic of something else, something that is iconic, an icon, or something that's indexical. And you won't be tested on this. We're just going to go through these really quickly. So symbolic signs are most difficult to get your head around. CAT means cat, spells cat. There's a picture of a cat. All right. If you learn, watch some cartoons, that makes sense. But there's nothing naturally that connects that with that, except we know how to draw cartoon cats. We like to make pictures out of things like that. Iconic symbols are easier. They look like what they're supposed to be. Here's on your computer. So there's an arrow. It points to what you want to click on. That's very straightforward. Some of these, X must delete something. Everybody knows what a floppy drive is because we still use them all the time, right? So that's how you save stuff. Oh, that must be mail. Okay. You must be locking something. So we speak this language very naturally, and it's all around us in the technology world because this is a lot easier than having a whole bunch of little teeny words. Like the iPhone does have both versions though, so in case you need that. All right, what are these? Now we're in the audience participation part. Raise your hand.
Bathroom signs.
Bathroom signs, right. Which is which?
Female, male, and then that's multi.
This is the unisex, or more modern multi-use bathroom, yeah. Hey, what does that mean? Handicap, yeah. So handicap parking or access, something like that. What does that mean? Nah. Kids flying downhill very fast? I know. E.T., yeah, okay, it could be. It could be E.T. All right. Well, guesses of that, these are getting harder. What do you think? No sword fighting. Pirates, okay. Pirates in the mountains. That mountain pirates are the worst. I think. Any other guesses on this one? Oh, I think I heard it. Battleground, yeah. There's some type of battleground attraction over here. Usually brown now denotes, at least in Western Hemisphere, some type of national park system. So you get a lot of brown signage and something like that. Okay, what's that?
Cows.
A cow falling, rocks. Yeah. So yeah, watch for falling objects, I guess. Yeah. Okay, now we've gone from black and white to yellow and brown and yellow. Now we're going to red. Things are getting more serious with the color, right? What does that mean? What? It's just stop. Yeah, you don't need the word there, do you? If it was in a different language, clearly communicate stop. So semiotics in action. I could not figure this one out, but I thought I would include it. What do you think is going on there?
Water.
Think that's water?
Going off the edge into a river.
So yeah, so don't drive too far to the left, I guess. Grab a piece of paper and a pencil as you come in.
Now.
Yeah, it could be shoulder that gets you in trouble. Yep.
Could be rumble strips.
Could be. Yeah. Maybe, yeah. What do you think? Okay. We've got red again. We've got elderly people walking. So yeah, again, red is more alarming. You're having to watch out for that. This is an actual sign. You can see it's been shot even and rusted. What is going on there? Yeah, that's definitely horror film in production. Drunk children. Okay. Yeah. So even if you don't know what it means, drunk armed children. Yeah, there's a knife right there. Yeah. Yeah, juvenile delinquents. Okay. I don't know. She seems to be in the lead. I'm not sure. Get one more. So. Yeah, I think that was in Roswell, yeah. All right, so you're surrounded by these type of visual communication all the time. Tons, they got speed limits, highway numbers, things that the road is about to do, T intersections and Ys. You got lots of emergency stuff here. Don't walk, don't park. Yes, you can park. It's all around you. I mean, semiotics is just part of life. But as an aside, any idea why highway signs are green? Why did they choose that?
That's informational signs.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, you're just getting information. Unless, especially now with GPSs, maybe you don't need it at all. It's certainly not warning you about anything happening. So yeah, it's just giving you some background information. So outside of a national park, green. Inside of a national park, brown. Or even state parks. Yeah. This also extends to other languages like Japanese and Chinese. Got over 2,000 characters compared to our 26. And a lot of them look like the words they represent. So this is naka. It means middle. And there's a box on the line down the middle.
See, I was going to go with a master's sail on that.
A master, okay, master's sail. So we're back to pirates. Okay, I got it. Yeah, not mountain pirates this time. Here's a river. So you got the banks of a river and I guess water flowing down the middle. Mountain, so you got some 3 peaks here. Yeah, so you can even have this as part of a visual language. Here's a rice field, so here's divided up into rows in the simplest possible way, yeah. And the last kind, just touch on briefly, are indexical. So when we see like a tear running down someone's cheek, we say, well, that's somebody sad. And so that's another type of visual code. So we see an outward effect of something unseen going on in the person or object that's out there.
Is that more photographic then?
It can be, but this one's indexical too. What do you think that means?
Olympics.
Olympics, somebody's got Olympics on their mind still. It's an older symbol. It's been pretty much removed from the Americas. It means school. It's supposed to represent the light of learning. And so nowadays we have kids without weapons marching along as being, well maybe, as being the sign that kids are present and there's learning going on, stuff like that. All right, another way to use visual codes is how you dress. So dress for success, yeah. So you get lots of Hollywood stars doing really glamorous things. That is communicating wealth, power, fame. They're communicating something in a nonverbal way with how you dress. Or the colors. Like black is the color people wear when someone has died, so it's something more grave. You got black pirate flags are scary. White, more of a color of innocence. Red can be danger or stop. So again, layers upon layers of semiotic meaning all around you. So semiotics is a study of signs and context and how to communicate things. Here's a bunch of different icons. That one's got letters in it, but like that. All right, so that summed it up. Let's go put it all together now. Nuclear waste and the semiotics, and we have the title of the presentation. So nuclear semiotics. This is the most famous symbol. What does that mean? Yeah. Something radioactive. This is called the trefoil. It was introduced in 1946 at the University of California, the Berkeley Radiation Laboratory, and I think it was just designed by someone who was working that day. They said, we need a standard sign to put on dangerous stuff around here. And their thought was that this is the atom, and it's giving off energy, and this is the area that's dangerous because of an atom giving off energy. Okay? Maybe you needed that explained, maybe that was obvious, I don't know. But that is, you know, if you watch The Simpsons, it's all over Homer's workplace. Yeah. All right. So the thing we need to worry about, and we're going to talk about nuclear waste now, is that a lot of this nuclear waste decays into stuff that isn't so harmful pretty quickly. Some of it will last a long time, but it gives off very little energy. So unless you're just kind of sitting on it, you're probably not going to be harmed unless you're there for a long time. A little bit of it, though, is, like I said, spicy. So that stuff is lasting a long time and giving off a lot of radiation. And if we're going to bury this someplace, we're going to talk about that right now, what do you do 6,000 or 10,000 years from now? 10,000 years ago, we were hunter-gatherer people. 6,000 years ago is about when human civilization really started. So we're wanting to create something that says, it's dangerous right here, 100 feet, 1,000 feet down. How are you going to do this? This is a challenge. All right, so let's take a look at one of the more prominent storage places. This is a big underground tunnel. Anybody know where this is?
Is it salt?
This one is not a salt mine. This is actually bored completely. Salt mines are an excellent place to store. We're going to see that in a second. All right, there's the inside during construction. All right, this is Yucca Mountain. So Yucca Mountain pictured right here. They've excavated a vast area underneath this mountain. Some of the strong points here are it's extremely remote. It's in a corner of Nevada, which has a history with a lot of other nuclear things that have gone and underground. And so it gets very little rainfall. You don't want water coming down through your mountain, getting into your storage canisters, making them corrode and then bubble out and leak into the water supply below. It was started in '87 under the Nuclear Waste Policy Act on the Nevada test site. So this is already a place where we're testing nuclear weapons. It's in Nye County, Nevada, 80 miles northwest of Las Vegas. And as of 2008, it was up to $90 billion spent. We've added another $500 million a year since. So in 2024, it's roughly $100 billion. And there's a tremendous amount of political pressure to shut this down because I don't want that in my backyard. This is my state. I don't want this buried here. So people start bringing up water problems, possible earthquake in this area. So here, some areas here for you. We've got Las Vegas down here, Nellis Air Force Base, Nellis Air Force Range. This is the Tonopah Test Range, so lots of nuclear bombs have been exploded above air and underground up here. Here's the Nevada test site, same thing. And here's Area 51, so we're back to aliens. And then right down here in this corner, not far from Beatty, California, is Yucca Mountain, sitting right there. So it is a pretty remote area. We do have it's got Death Valley down here, and then the San Andreas further out over here. In 2009, as pressure increased to cancel this, the U.S. Energy Secretary at the time said, no, we're not going to do it, but didn't have the authority to do that. The National Nuclear Regulatory Commission tried to pull the license application in 2010. That didn't go. 2014, the waste isolation plant in New Mexico is a place where they're experimenting with getting the worst stuff separated out and storing it, and then you can let the less nasty things just age out. But they didn't do a really good job. We're going to see a picture of what exploded. And so that kind of gave this whole thing, we can't even do canisters now. How are they going to do canisters over there? In 2019, the Nevada governor said, not 1 ounce of nuclear waste is coming to my state. Then the indigenous people there said the Western Shoshone claimed that the mountain is a sacred site, so they're putting pressure on that you can't put nuclear waste in our sacred site. 2021, Energy Secretary said it's not part of the Biden plan to have long-term storage there. It's not canceled. I thought it was, because hearing news story randomly now and then, or seeing the clickbait on X, I thought, yeah, it's gone. But it's not. It really is still active. They're still preparing for dropping off nuclear waste here someday. Other problems with this is you do need to get everything to a gathering spot and then get it through the desert to the mountain. It's quite a pretty long trip. And then here are places that we are currently temporarily holding nuclear waste, and you've got to get it on the interstate system all the way through there. Might we have an accident? A truck tip over? We just had a big accident in Denver yesterday, right? Terrorism, if they find out that we're hauling nuclear waste around, hijack the truck and drive it into some downtown area and crash it into a building. I mean, could be a problem. If you ever see one of these going down the highway, that is a nuclear waste container. So you might want to speed up a little bit. No, it's going to be safe. There they are in storage. This is a salt mine. Salt mines are a great place to do it. You throw it in there and then seal it up. And over time, salt very slowly flows and will just completely encase this in rock, basically, salt rock. So yeah, it's an effective way to get it out of sight. Here's a low-level radioactive waste disposal site. So the idea is you get down into the salt mine, you make some levels here, put your canisters in, and when you're done, you just let the salt kind of heal in around and that. Here's where we are storing it around the nation, both the spicy kinds and the not so nasty forms of nuclear waste. We have a couple sites right up here. One of these, I think it's this one, I don't remember the name of the plant. It's been converted to a coal fire plant. My wife, 33 years in the military. The military ran that nuclear plant back in the 90s, and she was a night guard for about a year. She sat outside the gate, kept people from getting to the nuclear plant, so kind of wild. I don't think we have any active nuclear power plants in Colorado now.
That was the only one we had.
Okay, that was the only one, okay.
That was in Platteville.
Platteville? Okay, that sounds right, yeah.
But Rocky Flats.
Rocky Flats is where they processed nuclear material for the bombs. So that was a purification location, yeah. And nuclear material for a nuclear plant is vastly lower concentration than what you get in a nuclear bomb. It's very low percentage, actually. So back to back to New Mexico, February 2014, in the waste isolation pilot plant, they had all these canisters stored in here. This one kind of popped its top and blew radioactive sludge out into its storage chamber. That's way down here. It looks like not far from Carlsbad Caverns, actually. So, you're fine. Here's Germany taking care of their low-level waste. I don't think that's going right. That's just my opinion. Yikes. So, how much is this nuclear material affecting your life right now? Not much. For fuel manufacturing, nuclear power plants and like that, 11% generates the waste. Medicine generates 5% of the waste. Nuclear power plants in operation create 80% of this waste, and industry in various uses about 4% of the waste. When you look at exposure, though, what's affecting you, most of it's radon. Anybody know what radon is and where it comes from? Okay, go ahead. Oh, okay, go ahead.
It's toxic gas that comes up through the rocks, through the splits.
Okay. Did you have more to add to that?
I was going to point out its position on the periodic table.
It is.
It's the lowest on the column of the noble gas.
Absolutely, very good. And it is a byproduct of the natural breakdown of radioactive material in the soil, and it's uranium and stuff like that in the soil below us. there actually is a fair amount in Colorado. And so most people probably have if you have a basement, you've got some fan tube thing going up outside your house to take some of the air from the slab underneath your house and get that out before it builds up. I used to work from my basement for NASA. We had the radon thing installed right away because I'm going to be down there breathing basement air for a decade. So it's a good idea. If you have a basement and you don't have a ventilation system, they bring a little carbon petri dish kind of looking canister. You sit in your basement for a certain period of time, snap the lid on, tape it, mail it back to them, and they tell you what your problem is. 20% comes from medical sources, soil itself, 16%, high energy reactions happening out in the universe, stars blowing up, black holes shooting jets of high energy particles out from them are bombarding our upper atmosphere with high energy particles all the time. And because of general relativity, time dilation allows those particles to make it all the way down to the ground. So you're being hit with particles all the time. We're a mile above sea level, we get more of that, stop doing that, than the people in Tampa do, because we're closer with a thinner veil of atmosphere between us and space. Your food and water gives you a fair amount. Bananas are radioactive. Yeah, eating bananas, you're getting some radiation from those guys. It's potassium. So good for your bones? Maybe not. So the nuclear literacy is right down here at 0.1, so not so bad. Spent nuclear fuel inventory. We are the winners right now out of these ones that are listed here. I'm sure Russia's lying about it, so anyways, I don't know. Okay, well that's gone. So let's talk about how this stuff breaks down. What is going on? If you look at any one uranium atom, there is no telling when it's going to split and give up its energy. Got no idea. But if you get a big chunk of it, you can very accurately predict when you're going to be down to half the number. That's a very definite age. And so that is the half-life. It's switched into the other components, and the red things are the remaining uranium. Go that same amount of time into the future, and now you're down to a quarter, half of a half, and half of a half of a half, and half of a half, 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 and then down to where you basically don't have uranium giving off anything bad anymore. Actually, when you get out to about 3 half-lives, you're not really worried about that much anymore. All right, so let's take a look at some of these nuclear byproducts. Uranium-238 has a half-life of 4.4 billion years. Whoa, it's going to be around for a while. Plutonium-239 is 24,000 years. Americium-241, only 432 years. That's not bad. Iodine-129, 15.7 billion years. I know. But then things like cesium-137, only 30 years. Iodine-131, only 8 days. So give it a month, you don't worry about that iodine at all. So you can see some of these things here, they're gonna be around for a while. We break that into low-level waste and high-level waste and a bunch of other different intermediate-level waste and things like that. What we're really concerned about for long-term storage is this high-level waste. How much is that? All right, this is a breakdown of all the different things, and the stuff we're worried about are these red slices here. So this is long-lived, fairly radioactive isotopes that are gonna take a while. All right, so the question from the beginning of the talk is, how do we protect civilization in 10,000 years? Let's say we get a political leadership that hop in and go, okay, we're gonna use Yucca Mountain again, we're gonna take it all from all those other sites on the map, and we're gonna get them there. All right, now civilization got reading and writing going about 6,000 years ago. Should we just make a bunch of stickers like this? No, you don't think that's going to work? 10,000 years later, I see even making it out of big, thick slabs of cement, it's going to be largely weathered away and hard to figure out. All right. Just make a sign in all known languages. Something might survive. A language dies every 14 days. That's shocking. That's us losing 25 languages. They're obscure small languages, very small groups of people spoke them, but they're gone. And in 50,000 years, will there be anything recognizable out of English, German, Spanish, Chinese, Russian, any of them? Here's an example. Anybody want to read this for me? This is Old English. This is the beginning of Beowulf. Yeah, there's Beowulf right there. That was written about 600 to 900 BC in Old English. I don't make anything out of that at all. Here's a that's just 1,300 years ago. Here's a translation now, so you can see what it looks like, but it's the beginning of Beowulf. Now, we do have some writings that survive, like the biblical Hebrew and Aramaic survives, but you've got a religion that's copying and being pretty staunch sticklers about the details. And we've got things like the Dead Sea Scrolls that survived for centuries and centuries, thousands of years, in very dry clay pots in caves and were found later. So we got some checking like that. So languages decay faster than nuclear waste is basically the problem that we're dealing with. So, oh wow, semiotics, could they help? Here's another example of semiotics, and I want to ask you if this is still relevant to you, or if you even know what this is.
Mystery is me. Mystery
1975.
Home is full of lots of things that children shouldn't touch. Home is full of bad things that can hurt you very much. Now there's a man whose face is green that you ought to get to know. He'll warn you when danger's coming fast or slow. Get to know his face in every single place. When you say it, you know quick. Things mark yuck, make you sick. Sick, sick, sick. Sick, sick, sick. Mr. Yuck is me. Mr. Yuck is green.
That's pretty bad, yeah. All right. So, yeah, would that communicate to you today? I don't. Anybody remember that? No. Yeah. I think a hospital started that, then the Center for Disease Control started printing them. They're copyrighted, actually, so they didn't take on. If they just put that in the public domain, maybe that would have hung around longer. All right, so you get to try it. Use the scraps of paper and pens, pencils, whatever you got, to come up with your solution to how are you going to communicate to this 10,000 year away civilization. What could you do to warn, don't dig here, don't drill for water, don't drink the water that's here, this is dangerous. And it doesn't have to be a sign. If you just have a description of your solution, you can write that out too. But yeah, I'm gonna change the landscape, vegetation, cement, something societal, cultural. So I'll give you a few minutes here, just you get to be creative. Yeah.
That could be a rainforest.
That is possible, yeah. And some people have pointed that out, that there are sedimentary rocks there, so there have been shallow seas in that area, and we have shells and things and limestone deposits.
Colorado actually puts uranium in mountains. Colorado actually dumps uranium
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, yeesh.
So I don't even
Yeah.
have an answer.
You don't have an answer.
I think it's way beyond us.
It could be. Yeah. What are we gonna do? What's your idea? And after this, we're gonna see they've had contests, they've had think tanks, an actual career trying to think of these ideas was created by Yucca Mountain engineers, and they hired scientists and linguists, and so we'll see what some of their ideas are, but I want to see what yours are first.
That radar was 142 was the longest travel back. But years before that,
Okay, anybody want to share or describe what you got? Oh, okay. Skull and crossbones. That's pretty cool. That's a good thought. What else? Anybody else? Yes.
Can they take that waste and put it in a rocket ship and send it down to space?
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Yeah, get Superman to fly it up there. Anybody else brave enough to share? Yeah, go ahead. You got, a circle with an X. Okay, just X, of course, X marks the spot. Could be pirate treasure there. Back to pirates. Okay.
The word is still used, I mean, it's a simple one.
What is it?
If the word is still being used.
Okay, so N and a no, okay. Nuclear, yeah. Okay, anybody else want to share? Okay, so you got, all right, danger,
No diggings, no water.
no water, no shovel, and some lightning bolts. I like that, yeah.
I don't have a picture, but it's just like non-erasive. You could talk about fence.
Okay, something that doesn't erode that is all red. Okay, that's good. What do we got? You got, all right, a smiling person, then they're over and on their side and frowning. Okay, that's good. You guys are thinking like the experts. You're going to see your ideas up here. Any last ones before we move on? Yes.
So I'm just curious, we can't even mark, old mines now
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking about at the moment.
Okay, yeah, that's true. And there's mines that there's holes in the ground that people fall into every now and then. Yeah, that's true. All right, well, let's take a look and see what they've come up with. And I'll show you my favorite at the end. I got my favorite at the end, save the best for last. Yes, go ahead.
I came up with the design. It's not really done, but the picture honestly isn't what it's probably going to look like.
Okay, go ahead and describe it.
I was thinking it might be possible to create, because you were saying that the biggest cause of radioactive damage to people's everyday lives is radon exposure.
Yeah, more than this.
So I was thinking, what if we invented a different type of ventilation system that's able to filter out the radon in the air?
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah. All right. All right, so one thing, this is sort of my thinking, is that if you mark anything out there, some people might see it as a challenge rather than something to stay away from. I think of ski slopes, like you got the extreme challenge, and they go down the double diamond thing because, yeah, woohoo, get done, more likes and subscribes on YouTube, and more broken legs. So some people are drawn to haunted houses. They like that danger side. So I'm kind of concerned about saying there's danger, but let's keep going. The first competition held in 2001 at UCLA, the winner, I believe, was genetically engineering these yucca to glow blue if their water source is contaminated with uranium. So we've got the knowledge on doing that. We know how to genetically modify plants. We can splice stuff in like crazy. And so you would have this warning sign that, okay, in this part of the desert, the yucca are all blue, don't go there and dig. Is that a good idea? Okay. Okay, yeah, it could evolve. Over 10,000 years, you might have made the things unstable, right? maybe you invite some different predation, and so maybe all the local animals like to eat the blue, and then it all dies out. That's possible. So they'll glow when they're using radioactive water source. But if you lose the knowledge in civilization of why they're glowing blue, could this just turn into a major tourist destination? Like the famous glowing desert. You could have honeymoons and resorts and vacations there, yeah. So I think, yeah, we got more to do. We got to think a little bit more about this. Sculptures that may even have moving parts or are scary. You create it out of steel concrete combinations and just cover that part of the desert with this forest of spiky danger. What do you think of that?
Oh no, that's definitely a challenge.
That's a challenge, right? I can speed run this. I can parkour. Yeah. Yeah.
It was 500 or 5,000 years, that's all gonna be gone too.
Yeah, erosion, elements are tough. Yeah. So there's a spike field, the spikes at different angles, leaning stone spikes. Or a monument post. Someone came with this big no symbol made of steel and concrete, concentric rings around it, big X's. Now the pyramids in Egypt were built around 3,200 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 3,200 BC. Some people say there could be nuclear waste under them. So it's already being done. But even with the pyramids, they used to have this beautiful outer covering of limestone-like material, and the Egyptians went and stripped it all off and used it for building materials. So if you use something out here that's a good building material, the people around might just scavenge it and undo your plans. Another is a combination of construction and monument. These are massive, almost touching blocks of stone or cement, and just meant to be so formidable and unmovable that people just would go dig there. Is that a good idea? Yeah?
I don't think it would, because that would be something that would definitely be considered a challenge. Like, I think I can climb this.
Yeah.
Like,
Right? Or, yeah, maybe there's something of great value underneath there they're trying to keep us to get. Let's tunnel under, yeah. Very good. Yes, absolutely true. Well, we'll clear our way through. Someone said maybe a giant mountain of razor wire. Well, first that is metal. That's gonna corrode and rust away. And people might go and strip it too. It's metal. Maybe metal becomes really hard to come by in the future. It's something easy to harvest and melt. Yep, you're. That's true. Not good for all the wildlife in there either. No. Yeah. So I think we got another loser here. Some people then went back to diagrams, like with your paper. This is sort of a sequence of events. Of course, will people still read left to right? People don't on the earth right now. Other languages go right to left. But so here's a person on the ground. Here's some mysterious symbol, some other mysterious symbol. They're drilling down for water, probably. They're making a cavern. Uh-oh, some particles are coming up, and now they fell over dead. We've got a person with our little stick figure falling over dead. There it is. Professionals did that too. Here they are bringing up water, and now there's these little particle thingies floating around that too. Good idea or not? Yeah.
well, I don't think it would work because of a couple reasons. Like you said before, languages might read left to right, right to left, I mean, and think it's like disappearing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one critic said, do I have the critic up here? No. One critic said, yeah, if you read this wrong, then there's something valuable down here, and if you just go down there, you release fairy dust.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
right.
This is what constitutes do this here.
Yep. This is great.
And then there's like the fact that these kinds of things could easily get like windows removed or covered. Like,
Right.
like that.
They're gonna erode, they could fall over, absolutely.
People could even just ignore them.
Yeah, or spray paint, yeah,
Or misunderstand them, not even know what they are.
absolutely.
Completely different, like,
We're back to the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yes, we can, yeah. We're gonna get to that, that's a good thought, don't forget that. All right, so let's go to our person that's shooting into space. Someone said, make an artificial moon as storage. So that's not a moon. That's too big to be a space station, whatever. Of course, yeah, it could deorbit. It could be used in a case of war. You go, okay, I want that country to get all the nuclear waste splashed across it, do a controlled reentry and drop it on your enemy. So terrorism would be a problem. Accidents and getting the stuff up into space. Spaceships blow up, even if you're Elon Musk. And so it's similar to the dump it in the sun solution, which that's not bad. It wouldn't do a thing to the sun, but it's getting out of the atmosphere always safely. Yes?
But even if you got it into kind of a little moon type thing or something, if anything were to happen where that nuclear energy were to explode,
Yeah.
at the very least, you could knock the Earth off its orbit.
You probably would create a torus of poisonous radioactive material in orbit. The explosion wouldn't be big enough, I don't think, to do anything to the
You don't
Earth.
think so?
Yeah, no. That'd be too tiny, yeah.
Could they just dump it out there, you know, send it up in a rock, they got rockets and it'll go up and come back down. Could they go up there, drop the stuff off loose,
You've
and just let it float around
You've
out there?
got to give it escape velocity or it will come back. So you've got to get enough kick that it leaves the Earth-Moon system. But if it's still in the solar system, then you got nasty little things floating around that maybe in the future that's going to tick our people off. Test stars, okay. Not bad. Yeah. All right, so probably not best. So let's go Dead Sea Scrolls here. If we look at world religions, Hinduism goes back 4,000 years, Judaism 4,000, Buddhism 25, Confucianism not much, Taoism or Taoism, Christianity about 2,000 years, Islam about 1,500. So they do seem to have staying power. So Thomas Seebach, noted semiotician, yeah, told you it was an actual job. He came up with the idea of an atomic priesthood. You create a fake religion, you make fearful myths about the radioactive sites, you tell people in future generations about the danger, and only the priests would know the truth of what's buried underneath there. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you could have whole hymn songs about don't dig in the desert, it's radioactive water. I don't know. That's right. So I mean, I guess he was being serious about it, but most of the semiotic community went, well, this is morally reprehensible. You're creating fearful superstition, and what if wars break out because of this? Like, okay, this has gone probably the wrong direction, but so there's our radioactive priest. So yeah, that's weird. All right. Another idea from Seebach. Come up with a message that says this place has nuclear radiation that is unseen but can kill you. Do the translate into every possible language, and then invite people who come near the site to keep translating it and keep adding to the translation. Like now we use skibbity toilet instead of nuclear radiation to describe nuclear. I'm a middle school teacher, okay? I get the current lingo. And just keep it going century after century. Problem is, anybody hear of the game of telephone? Yeah, so you start with a weird kind of long message to the person in the front row. They whisper it all the way through, and in the end you've got the fish rise at sunset on the moon or something. And yeah, it's not anything like the first message. So you could get a telephone effect over time. And there could just be people stop going to that area for a long time, 500,000 years go by, then they rediscover it, and now you've lost the chain. They can't read anything that's there. Yeah.
I had another thought about that. Another thing that it could occur that would be that a certain generation is like after constant build-up of a dangerous message and like that kind of idea in this area. At some point, people in a particular area might be like too afraid to go there, and then at some point the message gets lost.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that is a problem. So, yeah, this is probably not going to solve it either. So what they're kind of leaning towards is Yucca Committee like a combination of physical markers, barriers, inscriptions made of worthless material that nobody wants, and a written archive with the invitation to keep translating. And that way you have multiple layers of protection. Then Carl Sagan was asked, really close to the end of his life, and we're back to the person who did Skull and Crossbones. Good job. You're thinking like Sagan. He just said, Skull and Crossbones, mic drop. He didn't say mic drop. Cannibal Dwellings had it, Flags of Pirates, SS divisions, motorcycle gangs like it. It is, I mean, that's pretty scary looking. That communicates danger. But the working group said no, really only people in the West think about that. Like if you look in Latin America and okay, you got Day of Dead symbology, and if you've seen Coco, they're friendly, they're your ancestors. That's not a same scary symbol. There are also some historical evidence that the skull of Adam and the crossbones for Christ was early symbology of the early Christians. So that was, that's the gospel now. So that isn't so universally negative of a symbol. Someone else came up with, back to pictures, successive layers of danger. So here's a person obviously on a cliff, cliff broke, and now don't do that. Here's a person walking up to skull and crossbones. They open it, they get sick, and now they've got skull and crossbones on their shirt, which they didn't before. Or here's the nuclear waste, and let's see what is going on over here. These are flowers. It's a tree. It's a tree, and they got the symbol on the shirt, and why the tree got bigger, I don't know, but there they are with, and the box is gone. So it took them 50 years to die. So I don't know. Trying to understand this stuff. We're already losing meaning in here. Right. Yeah. Someone came up with a combination of the scream by Edvard Munch and the radiation symbol. That's pretty spooky looking. Yeah, so you got radiation and skull combined together.
They put it on the building tomorrow.
This?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
yes, it's annoying.
So they thought again, all right, let's put everything together. Let's build monoliths, barriers, symbols, use Navajo and 6 UN languages, leave blank spots for future translations, built like a archival vault underground. As you go deeper into the vault, you're getting more of these dangerous looking, suffering faces. And then an enormous black painted circular slab, like a black hole right over the most dangerous area. And then deeper in the ground, you use skull and crossbones. Just, they thought, let's throw everything at them. Yeah.
Why not just build more traps like you have in Indiana Jones?
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. You got darts, a large boulder. Absolutely. Yeah. So here's kind of what that archive would look like, and you got a map of the world and radioactive spots, and we're really putting a lot of money and effort into this now. All right, so here's where I kind of end up on it. It's sort of anticlimactic. I say don't draw any attention to the site at all. It's remote. You're far from everybody else. Let it look like a nice, boring piece of desert. and hope that nobody digs there and like that. And if they do, they know what a Geiger counter is in the distant future. All right, so of your brainstorming sessions, raise your hand if you came up with something like the experts. Yeah, raise your hand if you did, yeah. A lot of you did, I think. So, yeah, so you're thinking like a nuclear semiotician, so good job. All right, any questions? Well, thank you very much. Yes.
Kind of a theory type question. You talk about putting it aside. What about black holes? You weren't able to transport it.
Yeah, we don't know of anyone remotely close to us. It's taken us decades and decades to get a spacecraft even beyond Pluto. And you got the same, you've got to get it off the ground and out of Earth's gravity well without radiating swaths of people. So, yeah.
It took us 6,000 years
Mhm.
to create the problem.
Yeah.
So if we're looking 10,000 years into the future, I'm thinking they'll probably have it solved.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah.
And if they do dig there, then they have a wonderful use.
That's
It
true.
may be black.
They may be able to take this stuff, use it for an additional energy source. Yeah, yes?
This is changing the subject, but what did the Japanese do with the radiation waste after the bomb?
After the nuclear bombs? I don't think there was, most of it was in the air. The stuff that killed people in the ground was largely, I think, the gamma ray bursts and heat. I think the actual radioactive particles probably just went off in the wind, like a lot of our above ground testing. So, if you know anything, like apparently John Wayne and a whole bunch of people on film that they were making actually got the nuclear fallout cloud from a test in Nevada across the film crew while they were making one of the movies. I don't remember which one. And a lot of people died of lung cancer and other versions of cancer that were all about the same time along with John Wayne. So yeah, you don't want to be in that cloud at all, but it does eventually dissipate. Yes?
One thing, it really took us only the last 100 years to create the problem.
Right, 1920s is when we figured out nuclear energy. So 100 years.
I know we're getting to the end of this. It's aggressively clear outside.
Oh, cool. Yay.
So John will be around for a while.
Yep.
for Questions. So what we'd like to ask is slightly different routine tonight. We have one telescope that is working. That's the one on that end of the building. And we'll have volunteers up there. We would like your cooperation in doing something a little different. There's a lot of younger students here tonight who the parents probably want to get them home before it's too late. So if we could let families with smaller students go first, there'll be time for everybody. Let's just let the young students go first. And then after they've had a few minutes with the scopes, the rest of us can go ahead and invade. If that'll work, I think that'll make the evening go better.
So one other point.
Yes.
In your table, you noticed that some of the half-lives were
Billion?
billions of years.
Yeah.
That's the life of the solar system.
Yes, it is. That is correct. 4 billion years.